we are continuously getting these bombshell news. The White House is preparing to do mass layoffs, and we're not talking 100 people. We're not even talking 500 or 1,000. We're talking tens of thousands of people that are about to be fired, guys. Trump is not playing around. He wants to clean the deep state. He wants to limit the size of government. This news just broke moments ago, guys. I want to show you this real quick. Oh my goodness. White House preparing to order to cut thousands of federal health workers from the federal health side. On top of that, guys, you know the USAID is about to go down because check this out. Secretary of State Marco Rubio just deemed that only 294 USAID staffers are necessary out of the 14,000. We're talking about tens of thousands of people, federal workers, that are about to be fired, and Trump wants to reduce government fast. And don't worry, they're going to be taken care of. They're getting a good severance with benefit, but Trump said enough is enough. He also is firing every news outlet that was hired by the Federal General Services Administration. We're talking Politico, BBC, Bloomberg, ABC, all of them, guys. They're all out the door anymore. Anybody that had any ties to the federal government that was taking taxpayer dollars has been fired when it comes to the news media outlets. He said, no news media outlet should be paid by taxpayers. Y'all make enough money. On top of this, over 60,000 federal employees have taken his buyout program to leave the federal government and go work in the private sector. He is cleaning house big time today. Tons of firing because, like he said, promises made, promises kept. On top of that, Trump is now investigating the Clintons, Nancy Pelosi, and other Democratic leadership that were tied to getting money from USAID and NGOs. The Clintons have received millions of dollars on behalf of USAID and NGOs. And now Trump has ordered Pam Bondi to investigate all the NGOs. On top of that, there's another investigation that just happened. Did you know that the United States, through the USAID, interfered in the Venezuelan election? The taxpayers, your taxpayer dollars, $98 million was used to attempt to overthrow Maduro in the Venezuela election. Talk about foreign interference. On top of that, Trump has unveiled his huge, historic plan for the tax cuts. He said, if this is not in there, I will veto it. He said, promises made, promises kept. No tax on tips. No tax on senior Social Security. No tax on overtime. Renew the Trump's middle class tax cuts. Adjusting the SALT cap. Eliminating all special tax breaks for billionaire sports team owners. Close the carried interest tax deduction loophole and tax cuts for made in America products. Woo! We got a ton of breaking news today, guys. I am so excited. Trump is cleaning house. Want to say thank you to everybody that is watching, to all of our subscribers. If you're not subscribed, hit that subscribe button. Let me take care of you every day with the top news. And also, thank you to our members of the channel. The link is in the description to join if you want to be a member of the TrueLife News fam. And thank you to everybody that gives a super chat donation. We're truly grateful for your support in helping us give and donate back to charities. And want to say, if you don't mind clicking the thumbs up like button, guys, we got a dang good show for you today. And this is, I'm telling you, I'm just excited, guys, because we're actually seeing action from the federal government. Check this out.
This show. So everyone, please, in the chat, Anita, if you could lead the way, everyone give a shout out. Welcome, Stuart Thompson. Stewie, welcome to the show. Good to see you. Stuart A. Thompson at the New York Times, who notes, actually, this is maybe the first accurate thing he said in a long time. Pro-Trump media sees nothing but winning. The judges ruled. Judge Bongino says, let the winning continue. Stu notes, but through it all, the mood amongst those in right-wing media has been nothing short of ebullient. He notes that we have been seeing nothing short of winning, and we are ebullient. I don't have time for all the winning, Bongino said, a longtime Trump supporter and popular right-wing podcaster. He said on his show, it's a good problem to have. Stuart's right. This is finally some quality reporting from the New York Times. I am not done with the winning. Keep the winning coming. And to people like Stuart and everyone else, the winning is not going to stop. I have been assured by people who are very close to this Trump orbit that this is the pace they are going to keep for 4 years. And I'm just, like I did yesterday with the Gaza story, encouraging you all on our side. Forget the lefties. They're going to overreact to everything, and I want to give them advice. Just chill. Let Donald Trump stories and statements, let them stew, no pun intended, for 24 hours, and you will see what Donald Trump meant. He speaks sometimes in a very opaque manner because it's part of his negotiating position. I'm not telling you everything is 4D chess. Sometimes he speaks extemporaneously and says something and takes it back. You move quick, you break stuff once in a while. It happens. The Gaza thing, I promise you, was not one of them. It was not. Okay. Here was a prediction I made. I'm not going to tell you this was some big, bold, insane prediction, but I told you it was going to happen because the left is crazy. Folks, the midterms, Dan, I don't want to hear about the midterm. No, I do, okay? I'm always thinking the next election cycle. I'm sorry, but the reason the show's successful is because we see around corners. The next election cycle is already coming up, okay? It's only a matter of time before people start declaring for the midterm elections.
Yep.
Every congressional seat, a third of the Senate. We've got a tough run in the Senate. If we lose in the midterms, lose the House and the Senate, God forbid, we're going to be in a lot of trouble. It will be 2 years of fake investigations and collusion hoaxes into Donald Trump. So I'm already thinking midterms. Why is this important? Because another thing that's going to happen is if we lose the House in the midterms, which are just a year and a month or so, a year and 11 months away, which in my life is right around the corner, okay? If we lose, Donald Trump will be impeached again. For what? It doesn't matter. They'll make it up.
Yep.
They will use the dastardly deeds clause. That'll make sense in a second. Here's me a while ago making a prediction that has sadly already come true. Check this out. I'm about plans and plus ones and minus ones. I do not get involved in emotional stuff. I don't. I'm a passionate guy. I don't like the left, but I promise you I win. I asked you a favor, did I not? Tell me I didn't. Even for my haters out there. I said, please vote down ballot. A lot of these guys are going to be turkeys who are Republican congressmen and senators, but we need them because of a very simple tactical reason. Some of you didn't like that. Dan, I'm not voting for anyone with Trump. I said, that's a huge mistake. Because what's going to happen then is Trump is either going to get impeached or we're not going to get any of our nominees judicial or cabinet approved. I'm asking you to see the forest for the trees, and a lot of you get it. So I don't want to sound in any way condescending or not trying to sound like a tool. I'm not asking you to vote for Republican congressmen or senators you don't like. You aren't? No. I'm asking you to vote for Donald Trump because if you're not going to have Donald Trump if you don't vote for those people you don't like. I'm not asking you to vote for them. Most of them I don't like. They don't like me. Some of them don't even like us. However, if we lose committee spots and we lose the House and you vote for the other guys, the Democrats, or you don't vote at all, which is a huge mistake, Donald Trump will be impeached. He will?
Yep.
It's already started, folks.
Yep.
Here is Al Green at it again on impeachment. Al Green cites for impeachment high crimes and misdemeanors? No. I guess the dastardly deeds clause of the Constitution. Where's that in the Constitution? Well, I know. He just made it up. Check this out.
I rise to announce that the movement to impeach the president has begun. I rise to announce that I will bring articles of impeachment against the president for dastardly deeds proposed and dastardly deeds done.
There we go. You're always 6 months to a year ahead of the news cycle, sometimes more. I told you it was going to happen. Folks, these people are crazy. They are lunatics. The Democrats are in total disarray. Who the hell knows what the hell the dastardly deeds clause is? He just made it up. This guy's a moron. You're going to see more of this.
Yep.
And listen to me now. I don't want to hear about the midterms. I don't care. I don't mean to sound like I don't care what you want to hear about. We got to win. You like the winning? You want to keep the winning going? If we lose in the midterms, I guarantee you this guy will be impeached again. And God forbid we lose 60 plus seats in the Senate or we need more. They would need more. You will see this guy impeached and removed. Because there's always going to be a few sucker Republicans that fall for this too.
Right.
However, let's get back to the good stuff. Folks, the FOing is is piling up. Even Stuart Thompson sees it coming. I'm telling you, I'm having a hard time with all the winning. We're putting together shows at such a rapid pace because there's so much FOing happening. What's FOing? Well, this is the FAFO presidency. They effed around, and now they're FOing. They're finding out. The finding out's happening over and over and over. So we're going to cover an FO segment just about every day or every other day. Here's a couple quick hits to put you in a good mood today.
Just want to say, guys, thank you so much for all your support. Y'all are amazing in the chat. If you don't mind clicking the thumbs up like button, guys, it really does help out. Thank you so much for your support.
CBS News has learned Attorney General, thankfully, Pam Bondi, will sign memos directing the DOJ to start a weaponization working group that will review the Twinkies case in New York, Tish James, Tyrant Jack Smith. Bondi will also end the moratorium on federal executions. Ladies and gentlemen, I told you, the FOing, the finding out is happening left and right. Here is Emil Bove, who was running the DOJ until Pam Bondi got in. He's still over there. Great guy, telling the FBI guys, hey, listen, man, you guys can freak out all you want, but he notes nobody's going to be fired for simply following orders and carrying out their duties in an ethical manner. But if you had, notice that in the third paragraph down, partisan intent, there is a good chance you will be fired. Yes. If you swore to uphold the Constitution of the United States as an FBI agent and engaged in a tyrannical investigation against Donald Trump with partisan intent and not the Constitution in mind, you do not deserve your job.
Guys, let me tell you this. Again, Trump's cleaning house. This is happening so fast. White House is working on an executive order to fire thousands of U.S. Department of Health and Human Service workers. Why? Because after Doge went investigated, they found a lot of people aren't really working. Joe DeVito, thank you so much for the super chat. Let's go. He said, finally making big progress. And welcome to the family, Casey Stevens. Y'all show Casey and Joe some love in the chat. Let me tell you this, guys. Trump and Elon Musk are doing so much for the government. Elon posted this earlier today. Billions of taxpayer dollars to known fraudulent entities are still being approved by Treasury. This needs to stop. It literally is fraud. We are living in fraud right now with our Treasury, with who's been appointed, and we know about it, but yet they're not stopping it, guys. On top of that, I hope you're sitting down because this is probably going to make you mad. Did you know that your taxpayer dollars went and USAID funneled $27 million to Black Lives Matter through the Tides Foundation? Yeah, you paid for, those people that got out of jail? Those people that needed a lawyer to fight things? Taxpayer dollars went through that through the USAID. You cannot make this stuff up. What a corrupt establishment. But what I love, guys, Trump and his team, and I'm telling you, it's just the whole team, guys, that is really making so much impact, guys. Check this out.
We were the ones that made a commitment, swore essentially an oath. When the election was stolen and he left here at noon on the 20th of January of 2021, Boris Epstein was on that tarmac at Andrews when he took off, and there were very few people there. And we swore an oath that we were going to have his back every day and be there for him if he wanted to return to the White House. And I think the indication he wanted to do it quickly. We've been there every day. And hey, there was some dark and gloomy days. I went to prison, a federal prison, to back his play and not to bend the knee to Nancy Pelosi and the same people who put the criminal referrals at him that had him going to a federal prison for 300 years and to die in prison.
Wow.
So, our audience is very dedicated. I'm very dedicated. We're not going to agree on everything. As he pulls this coalition together, there are going to be certain aspects, particularly things around the editorial page of the Wall Street Journal. Remember, the Wall Street Journal went crazy on me in the first administration when I wanted to raise taxes on the wealthy up to the 50% mark at first, and they did not agree with me, and I respect that. But I haven't changed, and we're going to have disagreements in the future. We just, I think, have to understand we're pointing in a direction to save the country and return America to her greatness. We're not going to agree on everything, like the people in FDR's coalition didn't agree on everything, but we're going to agree on enough, and then under FDR's coalition, they agreed on enough to go win a world war. And so I think we're pretty well positioned, although there's going to be a lot of internal dissent and a lot of inter squad scrimmages. I like where we are right now.
I'm curious if you talk to Republicans on the Hill about cutting Pentagon spending and what they say.
They're not wildly enthusiastic. Okay. They're not wildly enthusiastic about that, and they're less wildly enthusiastic about not giving the wealthy the whole tax cut of 2017, as President Trump is. Nobody's going to sit there and say we want to do any of these things. We're in a crisis. All of our our alternatives every day lessen and lessen and lessen. We're cramming ourselves into a situation, unlike when President Reagan, with Paul Volcker, stepped into the last, really, besides 2008, the last huge crisis. Right back then, we were a manufacturing superpower. We had virtually no debt. Right, we had a well-educated workforce. Right? Particularly working class people that were highly educated. It was a totally different America. And even then, it took the political courage of a Reagan with a Volcker to wring out inflation out of the system and to get us back on track. Now we don't have that. We're not a manufacturing superpower anymore. We're highly leveraged. All the advantages we had then, we don't have today. And so it's not the same game. And remember, in 2008, in the financial crisis, they went to a very classic, because Obama, being a constitutional lawyer wasn't, I don't think, totally on top of things. Geithner and these guys and Bernanke went to a very classic thing of flooding the zone with liquidity, blowing up the balance sheet of the Federal Reserve, basically asset inflation, save the system, and saving the system, you saved the wealthy, you saved asset owners. Now we're in a situation, 60% of American people can't put their hands on $1,000 in cash. We have a capitalist system with no capitalists. I think 70% of the people have no assets at all, no real assets or no financial assets. And this is what's happening every day, where we got to start. You have to start with federal spending. And if we're not, and we should have a national debate over the next month before 14th. And if we've got to come to the conclusion we don't have the will to cut the spending, and we can't mathematically just keep running these deficits because it's going to bury us, then you're going to have to look at raising taxes or, as President Trump says, go back to the old model of the American system and let's have external revenues. Put 25% tariffs on people, make them pay premium price to get into not a punitive tariff on a Mexican avocado, right, or some under-the-hood part from Canada, but really another way to drive revenue. I think President Trump in his mind thinks eventually a third of all revenue can come externally. I think maybe he's right, but that's going to take a while, and you're going to have to really perfect that system. So and nobody wants to have this discussion. We're kicking the can down the road, and now the capital markets, I think the bond market is going to start turfing people out. It already turfed out the British government. It turfed out Truss. It then turfed out really Richie Sunak. It's got Starmer buried. It turfed out essentially the French government. It's essentially turfed out the Canadians. I would say part of it turfed out Biden, and people and it's turfed out Germany. The bond market, the global capital market, and the bond market has taken out more government than howitzers, and people have to understand they're going to get a vote, right? Bob Rubin taught us this lesson back in the 90s. The global capital markets, particularly the bond market, gets a vote, and I think we have to be very careful about this.
Guys, let me tell you this: you think that everything that they've been through, everything that Trump been through, they literally tried to put this guy in jail for 300 years because of some stupid hush money case that they tried and turned 34 misdemeanors into 34 felony counts. You got to be kidding me. Why do you think he's investigating Letitia James, Alvin Bragg, Jack Smith, all of them? Because they were all weaponized against him. I told you, he's firing everybody. Did you know that USAID was funding over 6,200 journalists across 707 media outlets and 279 media NGOs? Guess what? Trump just signed it, and they're all fired. No more contracts for any media news outlets whatsoever. On top of that, I told you guys, I'm bringing the receipts. This is where I told you USAID spent $98 million on attempting to overthrow Venezuelan President Maduro. And you know what? What I'm about to show you next, guys, I'm telling you, it'll make your blood boil, because the Democrats over here are fighting and they're screaming all over here. I'm not gonna play the video, but the over here on the left side, all these speeches, save USAID, save USAID. What about the people of North Carolina? What about the people of California? What about the people of Hawaii? You can't see it at the bottom, but the bottom is for the people of Hawaii. This is literally, we are so backwards in our government right now. But that's why, guys, I'm telling you, Pam Bondi, they're coming out. They're not holding back. Everybody is coming out to clean house, and I love it because you got people that aren't afraid to get the job done. Check this out.
Of the Department of Justice, work with the DHS to help eliminate cartels, lift the death penalty ban. She also cracked down on sanctuary cities and states, ordering the DOJ to pause all their federal funding. By the way, as a quick programming note, tomorrow we will be interviewing Pam Bondi, her first interview as Attorney General. And meanwhile, former Obama White House Chief of Staff and Ambassador to Japan under President Biden, Rambo Deadfish Emanuel, he and David Axelrod both encouraging Democrats not to die on the hill of U.S. aid. Anyway, a sentiment that was echoed by Axelrod, two more moderate voices of reason, warning that the cuts to foreign aid, well, could be popular with voters. The cuts are popular with voters. Nobody in America wants to spend billions of dollars on woke, Green New Deal, DEI, transgender ideology, not for America, for every country around the world. Literally hundreds of billions of dollars. Here with reaction, White House Deputy Chief of Staff for Policy, Stephen Miller. Before we get to Pam Bondi, I'll scroll what I did last night, all of the hundreds of millions and billions of dollars that they have wasted. They're not spending it in America, and they're spending it for the most radical policies that no American would support this. And they're calling it a threat to our Constitution. Can you explain that?
USAID has been exposed as the funding mechanism for the radical left here and around the world. The reason why the Democrats are up in arms is that Donald Trump exposed their scheme. They've been using USAID to line their pockets, to line the pockets of radical left Marxist organizations to fund gender studies in Albania, diversity, equity, and inclusion all over the world, to fund radical left illegal immigration and open borders groups that support the dissolution of national borders. They're even funding left-wing media organizations here in the United States. The radical left in this country are federal employees. In other words, they are sponsored and paid by the federal government. These non-governmental organizations are all subsidized by American taxpayer dollars. So if you ever wonder, where's the radical left coming from? Who's paying for all this BS? How is it possible there's so much insanity in our corporations, in our schools? It's because your tax dollars have been funding it, and Donald Trump is shutting it down.
I mean, I don't think there's one American that would ever support any of this money being spent. How are they?
Guys, and you know what? Just want to say thank you for all your support with the channel, guys. If you don't mind clicking the thumbs up like button, we almost got 1,200 people watching. Thank you so much for your support.
To hide it. And thank God Elon Musk and Donald Trump, the president, are exposing this and informing the American people with it. Their money, why isn't this money going to people in North Carolina? Why isn't it going to people in California? Why isn't it going to people in Florida, Tennessee, South Carolina? Why isn't it going to poor people in America?
Exactly, Sean. We have in America veterans under Joe Biden who couldn't afford housing. We had in America under Joe Biden Americans in North Carolina who lost everything they had, who couldn't even get temporary shelter. And then you have USAID funding communist nonsense in foreign countries all over the world, not to mention pushing all kinds of crazy plots on regime change and destabilizing foreign governments. It's a playground for the swamp while our own people hurt and suffer. And Donald Trump came in and he said we're going to put America first, and he is putting America first. And that's why the American people are celebrating this presidency every single day.
And by the way, Rambo Deadfish and Axelrod are not wrong, but I actually am encouraging Democrats to double down on Dumb and Dumber. Pam Bondi, now our Attorney General, she issued orders to fight the weaponization of justice, work with DHS to eliminate the cartels, lift the death penalty, and my favorite, crackdown on sanctuary cities and states, ordering the DOJ to pause all of their federal funding. Why shouldn't they pause it when we both know that they're aiding and abetting in lawbreaking?
Man.
Exactly. Well, let's take the last one first. Sanctuary cities shield criminal organizations. They shield Tren de Aragua. They shield MS-13. They shield drug cartels. The cartels that Donald Trump is correctly and finally labeling as foreign terrorist organizations. Federal taxpayer dollars should not be used to subsidize cities and governments that shelter terrorists and criminals that are murdering our citizens by the thousands. Donald Trump is going to shut that down. You also mentioned that the new Attorney General, Pam Bondi, following President Trump's day one executive orders, has made it clear that her department's mission will center on eradicating those criminal cartels in partnership with DHS and also in partnership with DOD, which of course is being led now by the great Pete Hegseth. And so you have seen in just the last few weeks how President Trump has already shut down the southern border, the financial lifeblood of those criminal cartels. And then we are now beginning and accelerating the process of uprooting these cartels from our communities and deporting them out of our country and keeping them out of our country.
Yes.
And when we have to, and we find drugs and we find evidence of criminality, then they will spend a very long time in jail as well, too. Maybe in jail here, maybe in jail in El Salvador or some other foreign country.
Guantanamo
But what they're not
Bay.
going to do is menace our citizens anymore.
By the way, is it weaponization if you investigate the Biden family syndicate and you investigate zero experience Hunter being paid millions with no experience at a time he's addicted to drugs and money he admits on his laptop he gave to Pops? Is that weaponization or is that law and order?
Pam will follow the laws of the United States, and she will hold those accountable who must be held accountable, and she will stop government from targeting conservatives and Christians and traditional Americans. Under President Trump, we will have justice, we will have accountability, and we will have honest government once again.
100%, guys. Let me tell you this. It's like sometimes surreal for me to see the amount of change that's coming. And what you're about to hear next, guys, again, you cannot make this stuff up. Only the progressive left would do this. No common sense person would spend money on this, guys. But what I'm about to show you is crazy. It got lit up today in Congress. But I want to say thank you so much, Asphalt Fusion LLC, Richie, for gifting 5 TrueLife News memberships. Let's go. Y'all show Richie some love in the chat. And Andy, who said no one is talking about the United Nations, Soros and the globalist EU may have benefited from USAID taxpayers' money. Thank you so much, Andy. Y'all show Andy some love in the chat. I've got something to show you in just a moment after this video, guys, because I'm telling you, everything is being unveiled. Listen to this.
More than $10 million in taxpayer funds that were spent creating transgender mice, rats, and monkeys.
10 million.
These DEI grants funded painful and deadly transgender experiments that forced lab animals to undergo invasive surgeries and hormone therapies at universities across the country. For example, the Biden-Harris administration spent $2.5 million taxpayer dollars, $2.5 million taxpayer dollars to study the fertility of transgender mice. Let that sink in. We spent over $2 million studying the fertility of transgender mice. $1.1 million was spent to find out if female rats receiving testosterone therapies to mimic transgender men were more likely to overdose on a party drug, commonly used in the LGBTQ community to induce drug-fueled what's called, quote, chemsex. I asked my staff what was chemsex and the chemical, and I guess it's something called GHB, which is a date rape drug, and also a drug that's used recreationally. So we spent over $1 million to find out if female rats receiving testosterone therapy were more likely to overdose on a date rape drug. Like, that's what your taxpayer dollars were being spent on.
Guys, do you hear this? This is in Congress right now. These conversations are happening in Congress right now. That's how insane it is. An Nguyen, thank you so much. First time for the super chat. Let's go. Said thanks. Awesome work, Joel. Y'all show An some love in the chat. Let me show you this, guys. George Soros, billionaire, multi-billionaire, received $260 million from USAID. He didn't spend his own money trying to destroy the American justice system. He used ours. How sickening is this to see this? And Biden gave this dude a Medal of Honor? Are you kidding me? But right now, guys, unfortunately, I hate bringing certain news, but there is a fight right now in Congress right now over the tax policy. And want to say thank you so much, B1 Sly One, third month member. Let's go. Y'all show B1 Sly One some love in the chat. Listen to this.
House Republicans met behind closed doors to discuss a plan to pass Trump's agenda. The meeting was reportedly contentious. One Republican described it as, quote, predictably emotional. Former House Speaker Newt Gingrich joins us now. Newt, is Republican infighting threatening the extension of Trump's tax cuts?
Well, no, I think in the end, the tax cuts will be extended because even the Democrats can't go home, and they realize that if you don't extend them, you have a huge tax increase on the average family. Mm-hmm. And when that sinks in, do you really want to vote for a tax increase? And that's what you're doing if you vote no. So in the end, they're going to get this done. My worry, and I say this over and over again, they have to get it done by May or June in order to have an economy next year growing fast enough to increase the House Republican majority. If they lose the House next year, and you just had a report on this, the Democrats are going to go crazy with investigations, with fights over policy, with efforts to impeach. So for the Trump presidency to truly succeed, one of their highest goals has to be to keep the House. In order to keep the House, they have to get a tax bill through by May or June. And frankly, my good friends in the Senate just don't seem to get it. I mean, if they want to move early, fine. Move the tax bill early. But don't tell us you're going to move the budget bill or the border bill early. The border bill's easy. What's hard is finding a way to cut spending, to reform the system, to save a lot of money, and to have tax cuts. And to do that, I think we have to move together. It ought to be one big, beautiful bill, as the president said. Any step back from that risk losing the House next year.
What's your judgment of Elon Musk and Doge so far?
I think we're in a strange historic moment. Everything from developing Gaza to taking on AID to what the most fascinating thing Musk has done, very similar to what he did earlier at SpaceX and Tesla and others. He's brought in very young people who are computer geniuses. He's got a bunch of people in their early 20s who are brilliant. And what they're doing is they're using computers to run the numbers. And as you saw with AID, once they began running the numbers, they said, whoa, look at all this money. AID always refused to tell Congress what it was doing. Yep. It's a totally rogue, out-of-control agency. So I think historians will someday say that Elon Musk, as a junior partner to President Trump, is a major factor in getting America back on track, in getting the government under control, and in saving the taxpayers a huge amount of money.
He makes news constantly.
Guys, let me tell you this. It's beautiful. Right now, White House Press Secretary Karoline Leavitt came out and she spoke about the plan that Trump has. Listen to this.
My receipts. I like to bring your receipts. So these are the tax priorities of the Trump administration that the president has laid out for members in that meeting today. No tax on tips, which is obviously a very public campaign promise the president made. No tax on seniors' Social Security. No tax on overtime pay. Renewing President Trump's 2017 middle-class tax cuts. Again, these are the president's priorities. Adjusting the SALT cap, eliminate all the special tax breaks for billionaire sports team owners, close the carried interest tax deduction loophole, tax cuts for Made in America products. This will be the largest tax cut in history for middle-class working Americans. The president is committed to working with Congress to get this done. My receipts.
Guys, let me tell you this. You hear that? Karoline Leavitt just echoing, we're going to see change when it comes to our priorities and what Trump wants. And he said, if these things are not on the bill for the tax cuts, I will veto it. Listen to this.
Economics to mean I get to spend more to live worse. And they voted. Now, I mean, the American people were poorer under the last administration, but they didn't become stupid.
Want to say thank you so much to everybody that's watching. We literally got almost 1,400 people watching. If you don't mind clicking the thumbs up like button, guys, let's get to 1,000+ likes on this video. Thank you so much for your support.
They could see that the government was creating a problem, not trying to fix it. And they noticed the national debt, too. Put up that first chart for me. You know what our national debt is, Mr. President? $36 trillion. Not million, not billion. $36 trillion. It takes my breath away. Highest it's ever been, over 100% of our gross domestic product. Our debt's growing faster than our economy. And we toss around these numbers, 1 trillion, 1 billion, 1 million, 1 squillion, like it's nothing. I want to try to put this in context. If I started counting right now, and I counted one numeral, if you will, per second. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. And I kept counting all day and all night. I didn't sleep. I counted between bites of oatmeal at breakfast. I just counted continually. One numeral per second. It would take me 32 years to count to 1 billion. 32 years to count to 1 billion. It would be 2057. I'd be dead as Woodrow Wilson. I wouldn't live that long. And that's just $1 billion. Our debt's $36 trillion. You know how long it would take me to count to 1 trillion? 31,000 years.
Wow.
If I counted one numeral per second.
31,000 years.
About as old as Chuck Grassley. 31,000 years. It would take me 1 million years to count to 36 trillion.
1 million years.
Those are the kind of numbers we're talking about. And the American people understand it. Since 2019, America's population has grown 2%. We're not having babies. 2%. And that's after massive immigration. You know how much our budget has grown? 55%. 55%. Wow. Yeah, we've had inflation, but we haven't had 55% worth of inflation. That's how we got to this $36 trillion in debt. Put up the next chart for me. Now, some of this money we had to spend during the pandemic, and it was a bipartisan effort during the pandemic. Republicans voted for it, and Democrats voted for it because we had no choice. I was there. I saw it from the inside. We came this close to losing the American economy. And you know who helped a lot, doesn't get enough credit? Jay Powell at the Federal Reserve. I watched it. The whole world wanted to go into a cave and retreat. Back in the Great Recession, I remember all the other countries in the world who looked to us. They may hate us, but they know we're the greatest country in all of human history. They look to America. And you know what? Back in the Great Recession, all the other countries wanted they wanted treasuries, treasury notes, treasury bonds. Not this time. They were so scared. They didn't want treasuries. They wanted dollars, cash dollars. So Jay Powell, thank the Lord, he goes over to the Federal Reserve. He opens what's called a currency swap line, and he told every country, you want dollars? I'll trade you dollars for your currency. And everything calmed down. He didn't get any credit for that. But it was a gutsy thing to do. But on top of that, to save the American economy, that wasn't helping the American economy. We had to keep the economy going. We spent a lot of money. But then COVID ended. And what we should have done was go back to pre-COVID spending. But we didn't do that. President Biden, after the shutdowns and the coronavirus, the pandemic was over, passed the American Rescue Plan. COVID was over. He spent $1.9 trillion. Never let a good crisis go to waste. I didn't vote for it.
Wow.
Then he came back and passed what he called an infrastructure bill. It was really just the Green New Deal.
Yep.
I know what's in that bill. That was another $1.2 trillion. And then he passed the Inflation Reduction Act. I didn't vote for it. But that was another $1.0 trillion. And then he passed the CHIPS Act. This is really special. He said, big tech, the semiconductor companies need our money. They need taxpayer money. They're not making enough money. And he gave them money. He didn't give hardware stores money. President Biden didn't give the healthcare industry money. He said, I want to help big tech. And boy, they sucked it up like a Hoover Deluxe. We spent $280 billion subsidizing big tech. And you add it all up, and that's $4.3 trillion, almost $4.5 trillion. And that's how we got $36 trillion in debt. And that's why Donald Trump said, I'm going to look at every single line item of spending. And that's why he gave the job to Elon Musk. And that's why Musk is auditing these accounts.
Guys, it literally, we lived through it. And what sucks is that most of us couldn't do nothing about it. And now the Democrats are literally fighting tooth and nail to try to preserve continuous spending. We are $36 trillion in debt. Social Security is going to run out in 9 years. We can't even take care of our own senior citizens and Medicare and Social Security and SSI. And they still want to fight over giving other countries and all this transgender ideology and LGBTQ stuff. That's where they want to put their focus on. You don't hear them fighting for seniors. You don't hear them fighting for Social Security. You hear them fighting for other countries. You know what? They should lose their jobs. But what I love this, guys, I got to bring you some good news. Senator Mike Lee calls for Attorney General Pam Bondi to start naming Jeffrey Epstein clients now, because they're going to be investigated and they're going to be named. That's what Trump said. And like he said, promises made, promises kept. The British Perspective, thank you so much for the super chat. Let's go. Said, sorry, I was absent. I was writing a book. Hey, we missed you. Y'all show the British Perspective some love in the chat. But what I love, guys, is more than ever, every single day, we're able to bring you so much transparency of what is happening on Capitol Hill. It's not like how it was with the Biden. Listen to this.
There's also a lot of questions, and I know there's been a lot of back and forth here about the president's plans in Gaza. I know you mentioned this yesterday with your PowerPoint presentation. Can you also clarify that? Because the media, the front page of the New York Times, you know, our favorite newspaper, is making it seem as if this is another foreign war. Proposal is rattling the Middle East. Look, the president is the greatest deal maker probably in American history, and in him we trust. What is your message to, again, separate media lies versus truth in regards to his announcement on Gaza?
The president, I think Prime Minister Netanyahu said it best the other night when he was speaking alongside the president here at the White House. And he said that when President Trump announces a new bold idea, jaws drop, and then people actually think about it and they scratch their heads and they say, he is right. And that's exactly what is happening in Washington right now with this new proposal by the president to bring economic stability and opportunity to a region that has been plagued by terrorism and war for decades. And insanity is doing the same thing over and over again and expecting different results. And this president is proposing a new, and yes, it's very bold and it is outside of the box, vision and plan and solution for peace-loving people in the region that nobody else has thought of or brought to the table. But just like when the media elite and the bureaucrats in Washington laughed at the president for announcing his idea of the Abraham Accords, they mocked him and said that Arab nations would have never negotiated peace with the Israelis. That turned out to be a very successful plan that is still in effect today, even through all of the troubles of the last administration in the region. And so I think that the president should be taken very seriously, and he expects our partners in the region to get on board with this plan and to accept Palestinian refugees as the United States takes over Gaza for rebuilding, for the betterment of everybody in the region.
And just to clarify and make sure that everyone is clear, as we have a minute remaining, the president tweeted at quite early, might I add, I'm sorry, Truth Socialed, quote, no soldiers by the U.S. would be needed. Stability for the region would reign. This would not require U.S. troops on the ground in Gaza.
That's right.
Is that correct?
That's correct, Charlie. A very important point. The president, he takes it incredibly seriously, his responsibility as commander-in-chief, and he has been very clear for decades about not wanting to send American troops abroad. That is no different. This is an economic development plan that he expects our partners in the region to continue on the ground, especially our Israeli partners. The president has made that commitment, no boots on the ground.
Caroline, thank you.
How amazing is that? I want to show you the post because this is super important. Trump is 100% no forever wars, but he still wants to help out. Thank you so much, Joseph Rickard, for the super chat. Let's go. He said, thanks, Joel, for all you do in reporting the truth. Y'all show Joseph some love in the chat. Trump said the Gaza Strip would be turned over to the United States by Israel at the conclusion of fighting. The Palestinians, people like Chuck Schumer, would have already been resettled in far safer and more beautiful communities with new and modern homes in the region. They would actually have a chance to be happy, safe, and free. The U.S., working with great development teams from all over the world, would slowly and carefully begin the construction of what would become one of the greatest and most spectacular developments of its kind on Earth. No soldiers by the U.S. would be needed. Stability for the region would reign. That's what we're talking about. Don't need soldiers. No forever wars. Thank you so much, Shelly, for gifting one True Life News memberships. Let's go. Y'all show Shelly some love in the chat. Because I'm telling you, everybody, it's little by little. We're seeing change come into place. Check this out.
Pelosi and these people, Capitol Hill, it's all got to be investigated. I keep saying we have to go back to the beginning. You have to go back to the beginning. We owe this to this republic. I think President Trump has to step aside and just let independent investigation go on. I strongly recommend that a special prosecutor be named on this, and that we have
And guys, if you don't mind clicking the thumbs up like button, we got almost 1,400 people watching. Thank you so much for your support.
Legal, the rule of evidence, all of it, grand jury. You have to go down that route. They removed a sitting president under Nixon. And Nixon, look, there was a little bit of sketchy stuff there, but they wanted to remove him for other reasons, and they removed him for other reasons. And the question gets to be, did they remove Kennedy? Did they remove Bobby Kennedy? Did they remove Martin Luther King? You know, what's been the involvement of this apparatus, this Praetorian Guard, that just like in the Roman Empire wants to select, it's obvious now, unable to remove Trump from office and what they try to do in the impeachment, that they stole the 2020 election. It's so obvious on that. And so obvious that Biden was kind of selected to go in there.
Yep, 100%.
If it hadn't been selected, folks, the laptop from hell, and remember, I was called up by Rudy and Bob Costello and those guys in July, August of 2020 to look at it because of my expertise on the state-owned industries of the Chinese Communist Party. And you can ascertain very quickly they were taking significant amount of money from state-owned industries and selling access to his office. That's not even a question. And I didn't get to the Ukraine thing. Ukraine's not my line of country. I don't understand it, but Rudy and these other people understand it thoroughly. And then later, when the laptop was released, we now know that they illegally did the 51 intelligence officers and agents said it was Russian disinformation, which was a bald-faced lie, just a bald-faced lie. And now their security clearances have been taken away. They're probably going to be prosecuted. I think the retirements ought to be taken away and let them go to court and sue us. But back then in 2019, Barr's Justice Department and Ray's FBI had it right there. And you could tell, FBI had it, and you could tell in a 10-minute scan what you had. And Joe Biden would have been out of the race in December of 2019. He'd been out of the race. And Bernie Sanders or Elizabeth Warren, and they didn't want to take the chance on Elizabeth Warren or Bernie Sanders or any of these guys. They had the idea then it had to be Biden. The Praetorian Guard, and this is the devolution of the nation. There's a republic. Down to something like this. This is post-constitutional. Mm-hmm. This is post-rule of law. I mean, it's just extraordinary, and we have to get to the bottom of it. And we will get to the bottom of it. That's why Birch Gold now, forget the fact it's reaching all-time highs. What you need to see, because, hey, we're going to do 10 times more turbulence than the date. Now it's a fight with the deep state. And very quickly, we have to pivot. I gave this Wall Street Journal interview. Hey, we got to start talking about budget cuts. What Elon's doing is great. You're going in, you're finding this, you're doing this, you're exposing this. This is all fantastic. Number one, he's got to get over to the Defense Department. No to Doge. I don't know if we need to go to the National Oceanic thing. It's great. I want to know what the oceanographers, is Woods Hole too expensive? That's fine. We're not putting out Kontiki or, any, not having canoes or rafts out there. I don't know. It's fine. But the one at $1 trillion is across the Potomac. Get an Uber, send an army of the Visigoths over there before a federal judge tries to shut you down. And let's get into something we have some meaningful cuts. Because if not, we're going to explode this deficit some more. You're going to get more debt. More debt means more refinancing, means higher interest rates. And this, we have to make sure that everybody understands this. That all this happened, and for a long time, we were in control. Why was Paul Ryan? You were there and thwarted. We got a clip. I don't know if you have time to play. Eli Crane and Matt Gaetz in the middle of the night, and I think the summer of 23, when the Warren Posse staying up all night and look at these, because we have individual appropriations bills, and they're fighting at the subcommittee level, and USAID comes up, and a majority of Republicans vote. After we took the House, they vote, nah, let's just go to USAID. Why is all this stuff covered up? First off, just on a deficit hawk, if you're a deficit hawk, this has got to go. Yeah. But even if you're not, look at what we funded with our own dollars, sir.
It's sickening.
Yeah, well, as we say every day on the show, it's the uniparty, right? The two sides were united. There was an equilibrium and an agreement that you don't mess with each other's donors. Right. So Obamacare, we promised for 7 years we were going to get rid of Obamacare. We didn't do that because Big Pharma and all that demanded that we, socialize 20% of our economy. So there's another hit to growth, another hit to the donor class advantage. And then on the left, they got the green stuff, right, which all went to the Clinton Foundation, the green, the climate change, the Paris Accords, all that. And there was just this kind of agreement that you wouldn't hit each other that hard. So when the Freedom Caucus starts hitting on all cylinders, back then it was mainly on the budget issues, we couldn't get an audience, and we got sneered at by the 100 Republican blobule in the middle. Natalie just brought up the definition of democracy. It turns out when I was in, I hope I did not vote for this thing, but they hide everything in these gigantic budgets. But Mike Benz has reported on democracy language. We changed the definitions of democracy from we the people to the processes and institutions necessary to have a democracy, which lets the globalist elites off the hook totally. And then just finally, just to connect one more dot, all of this stuff matters because the World Bank and the IMF and USAID, if they were all doing their jobs, you would have 4, 5, 6% global GDP growth. Of the good guys, and we would have hit and put conditionality on China instead of opening them up to trade with our Fortune 500 firms. So, and when I was in the House, there was never, and I'm not exaggerating, there was never a discussion of foreign policy or any of this. Now it becomes very clear why in conference, right, when we all met, 250 of us, never foreign policy. And they wanted to keep it all quiet. They kept the budget numbers quiet. The speaker was the unilateral leader of the party on policy, on everything. He dictated. And what really dictated was the giant Excel spreadsheet in the sky, right? The donors' wishes, the money runs the swamp. It's all coming out right now.
Y'all hear that, guys? The money runs the swamp. Thank you so much, Joseph Rickard, for gifting 1 True Life News membership. Let's go. Y'all show Joseph some love in the chat. Growing the True Life News family. Guys, I'm telling you, the truth is getting exposed. I am so excited because we get to deliver this to you every single day. Want to say thank you to everybody that's watching. If you're not subscribed, hit that subscribe button so I can take care of you with the top news. And if you don't mind clicking the thumbs up like button, it really does help so much. Yeah, let's get some fireworks, guys. Because you know what? Trump is kicking butt right now. His team is kicking butt. And the American people are winning. I love it. And I just want to say thank you to all of our members of the channel. I want to give some love to Joe DeVito, Asphalt Fusion, which is Richie, Andy, An Nguyen, The British Perspective, Joseph Rickard, Shelly. Guys, show them some love in the chat, guys. I'm so thankful for your support. Me and my family are so grateful that we get to serve y'all every day with the top news. And I'm just so grateful for where our government is going, because we do need a government, but I believe that for a long time the government's been screwing over the American people, and it's about dang time that we the people have transparency with our money, with our laws, and with how things are run. And I believe Trump and his dream team are pulling it together. Love you all. Thank you so much. I'm here for you, and we'll see you in the next one. Take care. Bye-bye.